Good evening, welcome to FailCraft Casts. I'm Hammy, hope you're well and good. We're going to be doing a Goblins vs Gnomes pack opening. Goblins vs Gnomes is live now in EU, the first ever Hearthstone expansion. So very exciting stuff. We're going to be jumping in, opening some packs. If you're live, do have a look. We will be doing analysis and similar in the days to come, as well as laddering and getting used to the new cards. If you're on YouTube and watching this, do check out our other stuff, youtube.com/FailCraftCasts, or come and watch us live, twitch.tv/FailCraftCast. So our format for pack opening, we'll be opening packs. If we see a card for the first time, we'll analyse its bit for you. If we get a repeat of it, then of course we're not going to do it twice. 4 Stank Max, a late game card, really as a mech. The Divine Shield will keep it alive for a turn, then it will swing in and do some damage. So not too bad for Arena. It'll be interesting to see if people can make use of that as a late game variant, perhaps in Watchers or similars. The Tinkertown Technician, brilliant for mech, the new class card type in Hearthstone. If you've got a mech, gain 1/1, add that spare part. A spare part, of course, being a small 1 mana card, and that will actually allow you to buff your various minions with various different kinds of ability. Very, very useful in a mech-based deck. Finally, a Dark Bomb, dealing 3 damage for 2 mana, a new nuke for Warlocks out there in the world. Next up, 2 4 Stank Maxes in 1 pack, so then we go into a rare. I do like this rare bunch actually. We can see the Illuminator. Now if you control the secret at the end of your turn, restore 4 health to your hero. So that's actually pretty tidy. The Illuminator will be pretty handy, and welcome to Topher who's joining us. Hopefully you're well and good. If you've got any questions, do just shout. So with the Illuminator, quite like that card. If you are going to be playing there are a lot of secrets around nowadays, and of course there are a lot of secret decks, so if you are playing one of those, you can hide that between or behind some kind of tank or taunt, then that's definitely going to be keeping you in a position where you can perhaps get a bit of health back. So not awful, will be targeted, very much so. Smash into another pack. We've got Gnome Regan Infantry. I don't mind this card too much. With the charge and the taunt, it feels as though it's got nice synergy with the Hobgoblin, and I hope we see a Hobgoblin soon. The Hobgoblin lets any 1 mana, 1 attack minion be buffed for 2 attack and 2 health. So that then suddenly becomes a 3 attack, 6 health charge and taunt, which is really nice. Don't underestimate 1 attack cards with the Hobgoblin. The Annoyatron, I love this card. It's going to be really key in a whole bunch of ways of slowing down aggro decks. With the Taunt and Divine Shield, and then any health buffs on top, that's going to be a very annoying turn 2 wall. It will really, really slow people down. Next we've got a Seal of Light again. We covered that first time round. Muster for Battle, I'm really happy to grab that. Now you've probably seen, if you're a fan or watching Trump, you've already seen his Quartermaster deck. Paladin has got Bolvar for Dragon, has the Legendary I think at 5 mana. Muster for Battle lets you pack your side of the table full of silver hand recruits. You've also got the Quartermaster, a new Paladin card that buffs all of your silver hand recruits, and then Bolvar for Dragon, which gets buffed for every minion that is sacrificed while he is in hand. He gets an additional attack. So Muster for Battle plus Quartermaster is a real solid Paladin combo. Fill the table full of silver hand recruits and then buff them with the Quartermaster card. So finally in this pack, got a Mech Warper, covered in a previous pack, but mechs costing 1 less, 2 attack, 3 health. Key if you're putting together any kind of mech rush. This is just going to let you warp in those mechs, put them on the table for cheaper. 2 attack and 3 health, nice and solid for mana cost, still stay alive. Okie dokie. Dark Bomb, 2 mana, 3 damage. That's kind of a new Warlock nuke that people are seeing a bit of. The Cogmaster, 2 attack while you have a mech. Becomes from a 1/2 into a 3/2. If you play him after a Hobgoblin, of course, he becomes a 3/2, then could be a 3/4, and then could become a 5/4. So that is actually really, really nasty. If you've got a mech on the table and a Hobgoblin, so Cogmaster, Hobgoblin mech, on 1 mana card could become a 5 attack, 4 health. Mad Bomber, a little bit crazy. Yeah, he'll be fun in Arena. As to how much play he may get in a standard deck, we'll see. Explosive Sheep. This is a ruinous card, particularly with the 1 health, meaning that you can very often pick it off yourself. This will stop a lot of aggro in its tracks, just for 2 mana, and if you can kill it, dealing 2 damage to all minions. Really, really nice for not only clearing the table if your opponent's getting a bit of a swarm going, but also you can of course use it to burst down some of your own cards if you want to be damaging things like in a Control Warrior, for example. Doing some nice pressure there. Finally, interesting, Druid of the Fang, the new Druid card. And remember, Druid of the Claw in Goblins vs Gnomes for Druids has been made a beast when it transforms into one of its forms. So, Druid of the Bear Druid or the Charge Druid will now actually trigger this. So if you've got a beast, transform that into a 7/7, you can play that after a Druid of the Claw. Whatever form you put the Claw Druid in, if it stays on the table, that will be a beast and trigger Druid of the Fang. So this is quite a cool card, and of course it will trigger off other beasts as well. So if you had smaller early game beasts in your Druid deck, then Druid of the Fang would also trigger off those. Get a nice early 7/7. Nice pressure there for Druids. Shadow Boxer, nice for the priests. Whenever a character is healed, deal 1 damage to a random enemy. You've got to throw a lot of healing around, so it's not quite a knife juggler, but it will have some uses. Particularly any deck that's throwing a bit of healing around in the early game, that 1 chip damage could be quite handy. Whenever a character is healed, imagine if you threw out a circle of healing, you would heal everyone up and then start doing chip damage down again. Lost Tall Strider. It's a 4/5/4, there's not huge amounts to say about the Tall Strider. It is a beast, if you want to be throwing it in Hunters or using it to trigger other things. Spider Tank, like this as a mech, it's a 3/3/4, and then if that gets buffed up with a lot of the other mech cards, then it'll be pretty handy. Ogre Warmer we've covered as a warrior, and a Flame Cannon, worth a brief mention as a mage, for the main reason of if you can set up a situation where the random enemy minion is the only minion that you can damage, that you want to damage, then 2 mana for 4 damage is really cost efficient in terms of mana spent for damage dealt. A really exciting card animation. Piloted Sky Golem, love this card to bits, was looking forward to this. So you've got the 4 mana Shredder, you've got this one for 6 mana. When this dies, unless it's silenced, you'll get a random 4 cost. So it really gives you a nice piece of sort of deck acceleration, but also in terms of tempo. It really forces your opponent to deal with this equally with the other one, otherwise you're getting kind of 2 for the price of 1. Not in a Silver Hand Knight sense of a battle cry, but that Death Rattle, bringing out one of those big minions, really gives sort of these Shredder Golem mech cards a good ability to sort of bridge from sort of an early into a mid game. So you throw down some of the 3/4 cost ones. When they die, the 2 cost minion summons, you throw down this 6 cost one, and then when this dies, then the 4 cost minion summons. Pair that up with buffs, pair it up with things like the Defender of Argus, Sunfury Protector. You've got some really interesting options there. Anti-Killbot, this will go in all kinds of weapony decks, which will be really fun. Basically anything that swings out with a weapon and needs to have a little bit of healing back. Paladins, you name it. Maybe aggressive warriors and similar. If your hero takes damage, the anti-healbot's there on hand. Previously a paladin would use the Guardian of Kings or something similar. The one that does 6 heal for 5. This comes earlier in the game. The 3/3 may not let it trade anything off, but a real nice card. Expect to see one of those teched into a bunch of decks.
Golden Common!
Oh, a Golden Common. Lovely. Tinkertown Technician we've already covered, but very nice to have a shiny one. Puddle Stomper, just a solid 2/3/2 Murloc. And another Walker as well. Numragan Infantry, Puddle Stomper. Recycle, shuffle an enemy minion into your opponent's deck. Druid could have done with it, outside of the poison seeds, destroying everything, replacing it with 2/2 Treants. Some direct control, so it's expensive, but shuffling that in also means it won't trigger the Death Rattle. It's not destroying it, remember, so that's a good way to get rid of big nasty enemy minions as a druid that's not going to be triggering any of their nasty Death Rattles. A Salty Dog, well, for 5 mana, this pirate card can do a ton of damage, but for that 4 health it may not be sticking around the table for too long. And I like this card, Scrooge and Clunker, giving a friendly mech 2/2. It's the warrior option for a mech deck. Now, Mech Warrior is definitely a deck that I've seen 1 or 2 streamers trying to play. Giving a friendly Mech 2/2, the 2 attack and 5 health mean that it'll actually stick around on the table for a while, and you can use it for trading. 4 mana means it comes reasonably early in the game as well. Nice solid play there. Anodized Robocub, brilliant card for druids. 1 attack or 1 health. Nice little early game wall, or it can be a 3/2 attacking option as well. Ogre Brute. The Ogre mechanic now in Goblins vs Gnomes is generally 50% chance to attack the wrong enemy, but remember that will punch through Taunt and potentially punch through Stealth as well. The wrong enemy does not take into account any other effects. So the Ogre Brute, don't underestimate it. For 3 mana, that 4 attack and 4 health, if you're swinging away, clearing your opponent's side of the table, that could be a very mana efficient play. Stone Splinter Trog. The Trog cards benefit from buffs whenever your opponent casts a spell, and there's a Burly Rockjaw Trog, which is a bigger version of this. So the 3 health will keep this on the table reasonably in the early game, and if you're playing against anyone throwing spells around in the early game, this will get quite nasty quite quick. Expect this card, if it's included in the deck, think of it like almost a reverse Mana Worm. It will have the ability to really sort of give your opponent something to consider, force them to perhaps deal with it earlier than they would have intended. Another Flame Cannon, and then we jump into a Metal Tooth Leaper for the Hunter. Give your other mechs 2 attacks, so we can see, like the Warrior card, this is the Hunter specific card to encourage you to play mechs. Other mechs 2 attack. Hunter mech deck is real, because if you've got lots of little mechs down and throw this down, suddenly it's almost like having a Savage Roar for your mechs, the Metal Tooth Leaper. Massive click through there. An Ogre Ninja for the rogues. Stealth, 50% chance for the wrong enemy, but 6/6, that's going to be trashing some things off the table before it dies. Glaive Zuka for Hunter. Give a random friendly minion 1 attack. It's an okay weapon. You will get a little control of it, but generally people probably still prefer their existing Hunter weapon for the 3 attack and clearance. Salty Dog again. Gnome Infantry again. Goblin Blast Mage. If you have a mech, deal 4 damage randomly split on all enemies. That's pretty mana efficient for a 4-drop. And if you're playing a mech deck, then that 4 damage is probably going to do something reasonably handy. So the 5/4 may mean that it'll get knocked off the table. Duck Bomb. 3 damage nuke. Clockwork Gnome. Covered in previous openings, but a core staple starting card for your mechs. Death Rattle of a Spare Part. Of course, that's Spare Part, one of those 1 mana cards that you can use to buff. Goblin Sapper, 4 attack while your opponent has 6 or more cards in hand. Seen by many to be sort of a little bit of tech that you can drop in against hand lock or anything else that stuffs its hand full of cards. Any deck that you're playing where your opponent really wants to draw a huge bunch of cards, the Goblin Sapper is a nice little antidote for that. A Seal of Lights and a Craggle. Spec Spell Power Malagos decks. We're trying to have loads of fun with that one. Nimragon Infantry. Piloted Shredder again. So that was the mini version of the Sky Golem that we were talking about. Summoning random 2 cost for 4/3. So the Warbot is a nice opener for a warrior, and then the Ancestor's Call, random minion from each player's hand into the battlefield. Yes, good if you only have limited small minions and big minions in your hands as a shaman, and then totally random for your opponent, of course. Vitality Totem will be interesting to see if shamans keep it in play. It's very much like a Flame Tongue or a Mana Tide, in that when your opponent sees it, they'll really want to nuke it away, but 4 health a turn is big direct heal. Fang Druid, Seal of Light. And another explosive shield. Straight into a Shadow Boxer, Cogmaster as well. Random Zap-O-Matic, kind of making the older Dust Devil a little bit redundant. Of course, this drops turn 2. If it stays, Wind Furying for 6 on turn 3, or perhaps even on turn 2 if you're coining out seconds. So I expect people to focus that down very soon if they see it. And there's the Burly Rockjaw Trog. That's the bigger Trog that we were describing just now. This is a real nice card. The 5 health really makes it stick to the table. It could get ramped out maybe by a Druid or something similar whenever your opponent casts a spell. It's like having a built-in mini Lotheb that, although Lotheb really stops your opponents from playing more than 1 spell for a turn, this really makes your opponents doubly consider how many spells they want to play. Period. And 2 Cultmasters. And Shield Maiden, loving this card for warriors. Battlecry of gaining 5 armor. This will see play in a lot of warrior decks. The 5 armor Battlecry is so solid. And then the 5 attack, 5 health. This will certainly, if it's made into a tank or not, be able to solidify the table for you, be able to make some trades, do some really solid damage. And we have covered all of these cards already. Many Seals of Light indeed. Nick Spire Tank, Glue Joker. And there's a Fail Cannon for the Warlocks. At the end of your turn, deal 2 damage to an all-mech minion. Well, you can of course attack with this as well, and it will do that additional damage. Good, maybe the kind of thing, good against rushes, for example, if it's not a mech rush, of course. But perhaps the kind of card that will get stuck up behind tanks. I'm not entirely sure as to its utility. It's nice to have that 2 damage, 3 attack and 5 health will mean it will tank on the table for a while as well. Oh, Ship's Cannon. Summon Pirate, do 2 damage to a random enemy. Quite fun indeed if you're going to pirate rush. But just trying to make pirate decks a thing with the Goblins versus Gnomes. Line of Naru, restore 3, but targets damage, summon a Light Warden, making Light Warden the card on its own semi-redundant, but imagine playing Light of the Naru on an injured Blade Master. 4-7, immediately down to 4-3 with the Battle Cry, and then not only do you get to put it up to 4-6 with that restoring of 3 health, you also get a free Light Warden as well. 1 mana, brilliant, brilliant, brilliant value. Priest's getting some really nice tools. Another Cogmaster, and another Birdie Trog. Look at the theme here. Salty Dog, Micro Machine. Like this card, one of the new mechs, and got some good rush ability about it. If you're throwing that in with a bunch of mechs in the early game, then there's loads of nice ways for you to put some pressure on. So consider more mechs. At the start of each turn, gaining 1 attack 2, of course, will mean that this is kind of like a budget version of a Shade of Naxxramas. Obviously the health doesn't go up, so you need to make sure that you buff this health up and keep it alive. Floating Watcher. Whenever your hero takes damage on your turn, gain 2/2. Remember that Warlocks, of course, can life tap to damage yourself, as well as having various cards that damage themselves. So, providing you've got damaging yourself under control, throwing this down in mid-game could be a nice way of bridging a Warlock deck, and also Demon Locks trying to look a little bit more familiar. The Warbot, we've already covered. The Bomb Lobber, dealing 4 damage to a random enemy minion, 4 damage guaranteed, is very, very nice indeed. 5 mana, 3/3, it will probably get destroyed after that, so it depends if you can fit it in a way that will let you use it as that 4 damage removal. Nice and epic Shadow Bomber for a priest. 3 damage to each hero. Well, it's certainly an explosive way of starting the game. Before going out, maybe looking to be more of a Shadow Priest based deck there. A Craggle. Goblin Auto Barber for the rogues, good if you're playing a weapon based rogue in the early game. Otherwise 2/3/2 is solid, so the weapon 1 attack is nice. It will maybe help a rogue control against aggro a bit more in the early game. Another Fail Cannon into a Dark Ball. Into a Shellbox and an epic Anima Golem for the Warlock. So this, destroy this minion if it's your only one. It's obviously mana wise for its stats excellent value until you see that effect. But if you're a Warlock or if you're playing this card, you're going to want to engineer a situation whereby this is not the only card on the table, and you're actually going to be able to do a whole bunch of stuff with it. So it could be quite good to use, certainly as a mech card, or maybe it could be dropped into various types of zoo. Or Warlock decks are sort of a mid-game finisher perhaps. Your opponent, as soon as you play that, of course, is going to go all out to destroy everything else on the table apart from the Anima Golem. Force Tank Max, had a little coverage of already, bit of a mech warper, and then we look at a 1-eyed cheat for the rogue. Whenever you get summon a pirate, gain stealth. So that's all well and good if you can find a way of summoning a pirate. But of course that 1 health means that even if it is stealthed, then any global damage on the table is going to make sure that gets got rid of. Here comes a rogue, another Bomb Lobber, a Birdie Trog, Flame Cannon, Birdie Trog, and a Snow Chugger. So Snow Chugger, freezing any character damaged by this minion. This is very much a budget but very, very nice version of course, the Splendid Water Elemental, which is really, really handy. So that in the early game, expect that to be freezing stuff, slowing things down. I think it's quite a nice card. I think it'll see play. Particularly good against weapon-based decks as well. Warp. Chopper into a one-eyed cheat again. Target dummy. Ooh. Taunt 0-2. One way of slowing things down. Brilliant. I was looking forward to this for the warrior. Bouncing Blade. Now, this not only got its own animation, it does 1 damage to a random minion and repeats until a minion dies. Imagine what happens if I have armor smiths on the table. Imagine if I have things such as the Acolyte of Pain for me to draw cards. And finally, imagine if I use Commanding Shout as a warrior to prevent any of my minions dying this turn. I could make sure none of my minions die and then play a Bouncing Blade and watch the carnage begin. Finally, an Ogre Brute. Don't underestimate the Ogre Brute. Golden Common for 90 Killbots. Another one cheats. No Chugger, a Micro Machine, and a Trog. Puddle Stomper, everyone's favourite solid Murloc. Whirling's Automatic Gnomish Experimenter. Draw a card if it's a minion, transform it into a chicken. Yes. Chicken's not as good as you think. But finally we have a little Exorcist, and I really like this one. This is the anti-Death Rattle tech. So Taunt, Battlecry, gain 1/1 for each enemy Death Rattle minion. So for 3 mana, if your opponent is rushing you with Death Rattle, suddenly you get a however many. And with 2/3 as its base stats, you could easily get something like a 3/4 or a 4/5 or a very solid tank to counteract your enemy's Death Rattle rush with. So Little Exorcist, great deck card to have. Annoyatron, special mention for that. The Annoyatron is going to be annoying people so much. Power Mace for Shaman, random friendly mech 2/2 for 3 attack and 2 durability. That's good control for Shaman in the early game to start trying to remove against Aggro. Shielded Minibot for Paladins, a really nice 2/2 addition that can trigger Blood Knight and similar. And 2 Lost Horse Drivers. These Goblins versus Gnomes packs are funny. And comes an Illuminator, control a secret, restore 4, put it behind a tank, it could do you some good. Ah, look at that, amazing. What a card to pull. So let's do Cobra Shot first before going at the Foe Reaper. Getting some grats there, and we're going to have to celebrate that one on Twitter. Brilliant stuff. Okay, so let us cover the Cobra Shot. Not the strongest 3 damage to a minion, and of course some to enemy hero as well. However, the Foe Reaper 4000, I really love this card. Also damage the minions next to him every attacks. If you get this guy out, then he's going to be really doing carnage to the table. With 9 health, will stay alive for a while. If you can buff him up, he'll be really good. So I think he's a legendary that has got a lot of potential. For one swing, he could take out 3 minions, and if you can really buff his health, I could see him coming into a priest deck or a bunch of other decks, really being an unstoppable force. Only a Snow Chugger again. Ogre Brute. Vitality Totem we've covered. Goblin Auto Barber. Ogre Brute again, and then Analyzed Red Cup. Spider Tank, Ship's Cannon, Iron Sensei. Let's just consider that for the Rogue. This is the Rogue card designed to help you play mech. At the end of your turn, give another friendly mech 2/2. So if you can keep that concealed, for example, and using that to buff your mechs, then you'll get some very nice mechs very quick. Velen's Chosen, worth a shout out for you priests. It's a really strong 2/4 buff with spell damage 1. For the mana cost, that's a really good way of making some really strong priest cards real quick. Ogre Ninja. think a sharp sword is worth a shout. If you can engineer the situation to get that into effect, then not only let's say if you drop that on top of an assassin's blade, one of your big rogue weapons, and then you give one of your minions the attack, then you become, well, it gives you a big tempo swing, but can you create that situation? Or is that situation realistic? Steam Wheel Sniper, that's worth a shout for hunters. Brief shout to Mechanical Yeti, it's a nice strong Yeti card, but you also get the spare part. It's kind of like an even better Yeti in many ways. And then the Steam Wheel Sniper, your hero power can target minions. That means that hunters can actually go and start sniping away at minions instead with the hero power, as long as that's alive. So if you can protect that Steam Wheel Sniper, expect to see that drop into some hunter decks as being a nice little tech for putting some pressure on with. Very nice indeed, and that's what we wanted for our Paladin. We've just grabbed ourselves a Bolvar 4 Dragon. So Bolvar is, you may have seen him pop up in the Trump Quartermaster deck, so whenever a friendly minion dies when he's in your hand, gain 1 attack. So if you sacrifice a bunch of minions in the early game, then Bolvar, if you manage to have him in hand, will benefit from all those sacrifices. So when you throw him down, your opponent's going to have to deal with him in the mid to late game. Really, really nice. Mech Bearcat. Whenever this minion takes damage, add a spare part to your hand. Now Mech Bearcat is a mech, but grabbing those spare parts, and because he's got 6 health, he can take a bit of damage, can our Mech Bearcat, so he'll definitely be able to put some good pressure on and give you spare parts. Don't forget that spare parts can conceal and freeze amongst other things. Goblin Scepter, anti-handlock tech. Golden piloted shredder, very, very nice indeed. Light of the Nari. Beg pardon, just need a little drink. Fell Cannon, Spider Tank, Codmaster, Burly Rock Trog, and a Seal of Light. Comes an epic. Oh, and we've got a Quartermaster, so the Paladin deck is really coming together at the moment, isn't it? Giving your Silver Hand recruits +2/+2. So summon loads of Silver Hand recruits with muster for battle, give them +2/+2, and then commence the wrecking. Siege Engine for the warrior as well, nice. Whenever you gain armour, give this minion 1 attack. Imagine what happens if we play this after a Shield Maiden. Play a Shield Maiden, play this down for 5/5/5, and then play the Shield Maiden straight after. Shield Maiden gives us 5 armour, and this then becomes a 10/5. So the Quartermaster will really help a Paladin archetype come together. Very nice to draw that. Trog, Ogre Warmore, we'll look at another Siege Engine, nice, we've really got a good warrior coming together as well. Should have really got Eliminator, Yeti, Cobra and Melon. King of Beasts. So King of Beasts is that additional charging option for hunters. Gain 1 attack for every other beast you have. Really Blizzard trying to encourage hunters to play a bunch of big beasts in this one. So if I've just done something like an Unleash the Hounds, I could throw this down straight afterwards, for example, on turn 8, 7 if I've got a coin and I get the 2 together. So it could become big and nasty depending on how many beasts we have on the table. And there's our second Quartermaster, so I think we're going to have to be making that Quartermaster deck Trump style, and seeing how it goes. Golden Common! And Glaive Zuka as well. And nice, I really think that the Mistress of Pain is an awesome card for Warlock, because if you combine this with the Hobgoblin, you're going to be doing some nice pressure, restoring damage to your health to your hero, so Hearthstone gets Magic the Gathering style, some lifelink, and then if it combos with a Hobgoblin, that Hobgoblin buffs any 1 attack minion by 2 attack and 2 health. So that gives you a 3 attack 6 health minion if you drop that after a Hobgoblin. Very nice indeed. Expect to see Mistress of Pain featuring in Warlock decks going forward. Second little Exorcist, that's a nice little bit of wall as well for Paladin. Craggle, and then a villain's chosen. Golden Trog. Another rare, we get another Mech Bear Cat as well. Straight into an epic for a Coghammer for the Paladin, give a random friendly minion Divine Shield and Taunt. Now that's pretty nice when you play it, because you could make a random, effectively chunky minion of yours even more solid as well. So Coghammer, 2 attack and 3 health, it will help you control some aggro in the early game as well. Another King of Beasts. Okay, so thank you so much for tuning in. That's going to be us for the time being. We will open the rest of these packs tomorrow, as well as doing some laddering of Goblins and Gnomes. So thanks for tuning in. Do come and check us out some other time. This is part 1 of our pack opening. Where can you find us in future? Please do come and find us. If you've watched this on YouTube, come and watch us live, twitch.tv/FailCraft Cast. We go live Monday through Friday. Try check us out on @FailCraft Casts on Twitter. We'll tweet there when we go live. Don't forget to subscribe, youtube.com/FailCraft Casts, or follow us on Twitch. There's over 100 episodes of our usual Hearthstone half hour on our YouTube. So thanks very much for tuning in. This is FailCraft Cast. I've been Hammy. Hope you're enjoying Goblin vs Gnomes, and come and check out our channel on YouTube. Come and join us live on Twitch for lots of deck creation, laddering, teching and enjoying of Hearthstone. So hopefully